lasted from 1483 to 1483. He was king and then he wasn't in the same year. So how interesting. Let's read more. So, Edward the Fifth lived from the 2nd of November 1470 to around 1483. I think this C means circa, which is like they don't know. It's around about that time, at least I think so. And he reigned from the 9th of April 1483 to the 25th of June 1483. So literally he only had a few months as king. So what happened? When his father, Edward the Fourth, died, Edward the Fifth was supposed to become king. However, when he came to the throne, he was just 12 years old and didn't have any powerful friends or advisors. His own uncle, Richard, put him and his brother, Richard of Shrewsbury, into the Tower of London, and the tragic little princes in the tower were never seen again. Right, I understand. So, when I was at school, we learnt about the princes in the tower, which basically is a dreadful story of, I think it's Richard II or Richard III, I can't remember, who imprisoned these two boys, and nobody knows what happened to them until very recently. There was like an excavation of the tower or somewhere, I don't know, and they found two skeletons of two young boys. And obviously you can't do like DNA testing or anything, but they think it might be these two. So Edward was one of the little princes in the tower, although perhaps he really should have been called the king in the tower. Yeah. Edward was just a 12-year-old boy when his father, Edward the Fourth, died unexpectedly. With nobody to look after the young heir, a power struggle for the throne ensued. The most powerful of all was Edward's uncle Richard, Duke of Gloucester. Uncle Richard suddenly decided that Edward and his brother, also called Richard, needed to go to the Tower of London for their own safety. Everyone knew what happened to the last king who'd been sent there, Henry VI, who died shortly after his arrival. Suspect. At this time, rumours started to spread that Edward and Richard's parents hadn't been properly married, and that, as such, the two boys weren't princes at all. I think that's a load of rubbish. This meant the Duke of Gloucester was next in line to the throne, and he stepped up accordingly to become Richard III. Yes, I thought it was Richard, either 1, 2 or 3. All the while, no one thought to check on the two little boys in the tower who were never seen again. So let's take a little look at the painting here. Oh, he looks like a little sweet kid. You notice that the crown is like floating above his head. I wonder if that's like symbolic of the fact he wasn't actually crowned king. It was like meant to be, and then it didn't pan out. He has these like baby but just for argument's sake, we will just have a look at her, just to recap and refresh our memory. Elizabeth Woodville, 1437 to 1492, Baroness Grey of Groby, later Queen Elizabeth, as his stunning and secret wife. Yes, I remember now. Stunning. Okay. The revelation of Lancastrian Elizabeth's marriage to Edward IV caused a scandal at Yorkist court. Elizabeth was crowned queen, but it didn't mean everyone wanted to treat her royally. In fact, her new mother-in-law refused to call her queen at all. In spite of his battles and affairs, Elizabeth's marriage to Edward IV produced 10 children, including the princes in the Tower and the future Queen Elizabeth, wife of the first Tudor king, Henry VII. Her plotting put her daughter on the throne, and so this ordinary beauty became the ancestor of all monarchs to come. Richard of Shrewsbury, 1473 to 1483, was the Duke of York. Richard was the second son of Edward IV. Richard's father died when he was just 10 years old. The new king was Richard's brother Edward, but Edward was also just a child, and the two boys were up against a whole bunch of greedy grown-ups. Helpless, they were locked in the Tower of London and never seen again. Sad. Elizabeth of York, we haven't looked at her yet. So, Elizabeth of York, 1466 to 1503, Queen Elizabeth, daughter of Edward IV and wife of Henry VII, and mother of Henry VIII. A princess of York, Elizabeth was the daughter of Edward IV and his beautiful Queen Elizabeth Woodville. Being a girl kept her safe when her two little brothers, Edward V and Richard, the Duke of York, were trapped and became the tragic princes in the Tower held by their uncle, Richard III. When it pays to be a girl, it was rumoured that at one stage she was the object of Richard III's marriage intentions, and if he had his own way, she would have been forced to marry her own uncle. That's horrible. However, Elizabeth's mother had allied with Lady Margaret Beaufort, the mother of Henry Tudor, and the two women came up with a plan to have Henry and Elizabeth marry. After Henry invaded and defeated Richard III at the Battle of Bosworth, the new king honoured his mother's schemes and married Elizabeth, thereby uniting the warring houses of York and Lancaster. Thank goodness. Can you imagine having to marry your uncle? That's grim. Elizabeth was a gentle and popular queen, the beloved mother of Arthur, Prince of Wales, and the future Henry VIII. When she died, aged only 37, her husband Henry was said to be overcome with sorrow. So she seemed to be a nice kind of lady. Edward Plantagenet. Again, we might have read this person, but we'll recap if we have already. Edward Plantagenet, 1475 to 1499, was the Earl of Warwick. Edward Plantagenet was the son of George, Duke of Clarence, brother of Edward IV and Richard III, and a cousin of Edward V, the Prince in the Tower, who never quite made it to the throne. He was the last of the Plantagenets and the last in the legitimate line from Henry II. However, like his cousin, Edward found himself in the Tower of London, this time at the request of Henry VII. Henry VII saw Edward's claim to the throne as a potential threat, and with the emergence of various other pretenders to the crown, Henry felt more and more anxious to secure his position as king. Eventually, Henry and Edward executed Henry had Edward executed for plotting to escape from the tower and for conspiring with infamous pretender Perkin Warbeck, who claimed to be the lost prince, brother of Edward V, Richard of Shrewsbury, Duke of York, which we just read. So let's look at the timeline down here. It's a very short one with only 3 events. In 1470, Edward is born. In 1483, the crown passes to Edward, so that makes him 13 years old at the time. But then Edward V disappears. Such a shame. So let's take the quiz and see how much we can remember. There's only 2 questions, bless him. How old was Edward V when he came to the throne? 12, 25, 30, or 50? I'm going to say 12. I miscalculated his birthday, so I said 13, but it was 12. Correct. Edward V was only 12 years old when he became king. Question 2 of 2. Who was the uncle of Edward V and the brother, Richard of Shrewsbury, responsible for imprisoning the 2 princes in the Tower of London? James Scott, Duke of Monmouth, Henry Benedict Stuart, Edward Plantagenet, Earl of Warwick, or Richard, Duke of Gloucester? I'm going to say Richard. Correct. It was their uncle Richard, Duke of Gloucester, that put the boys in the tower for their own safety. And I think that's what Shakespeare's Richard III play is all about, his villainy and treachery. So, that is Edward V, a very short-lived king, bless him. Not a lot really to know about. If you wanted to do some extra reading, then I would encourage you to look up The Princes in the Tower. There's been a lot of developments, like in the last 10 years, about The Princes in the Tower. I will have to refresh my memory about it, but it's very, very